Well, aloha kakahiaka, everybody. Today is January 21st, 2022, and you are on the pre-game show of the Aloha Friday Hawaii Real Estate Show. And we're really glad you're here. And of course, we got the early birds over here, which is great. Great to have you with us. Let's put up our friends over here. We are hanging out with Dylan Nonaka, who's from the Big Island, and we are with Scott Startsman, who is joining us from Oahu, and Heidi Dollinger, who has returned. Hope you're feeling better, Heidi, from Maui. And let's see who's over here first, real quick. Let's say a quick hello to everybody here. Joan, who was the first one in here. Joan, welcome back. Joan is a member of the Islander Ohana alumni, and she is on living on Oahu, which is totally awesome. Welcome back, Joan. Dwayne, hello, Dwayne. Good to see you again from Kentucky. A warm, balmy 31 degrees. There you go. Enjoy the freezing temperature with sun. And like you, Jim has jumped in. Aloha kakahiaka. It's warm there, freezing in New York City. There you go. And Gil's back. Hey Gil, how's it? Happy Friday. And Judy, hey Judy, welcome back. Judy is also a Islander Ohana alumni who is back with us. Hey gang, all right, great. Hey, good to see you all. Great to be back. Let's do a quick hello and the quick update. So we're going to start counterclockwise with Heidi, then Scott, then Dylan. Heidi, what's the coffee of the day today?
Well, the coffee of the day is one of my go-to favorites. It's the red katuai, and I just love it. Actually, when I traveled to the mainland, I brought my own coffee just to make sure I would have it. Um, and just super happy to be back and see everybody.
Bring your own. See that now there now that Heidi, I think, really confirms you are a scooch more hardcore coffee than I am. I thought I was pretty hardcore, but somebody who brings their own coffee. I heard people bringing their own pillows, but I haven't heard bringing your own coffee. That's pretty darn good. Actually, Heidi, I want to get your feedback. Um, I just bought a bag of quote Hawaiian coffee from Costco, and I'm kind of test. I have no idea what it is. It doesn't say Kona, so it's not from Kona. Could be something that somebody grew in the backyard here of Oahu, for all I know. But anyway, I bought that. I don't know if you tried that or not. Scott, give us the update from Oahu. How's it going, buddy?
Yeah, weather's perfect today. Actually, it's been pretty perfect for the last probably 2 weeks or so. But yeah, I started off last week more or less the new year saying new opportunities, no new adventures. I love the new year time frame, and now I got a new Aloha shirt. This is a Tanoa, and I'm competing with Dylan now. Of course, I didn't buy it, but I got a new Aloha shirt. I'm looking snazzy and ready to go.
You're looking good, man. I was let's grab a few other folks who have popped in over here. Auntie Joyce, top of the morning. Welcome back, Auntie Joyce. Tom, welcome back, Tom. Tom is, I believe, from the UK, if I'm not mistaken. Patrick, hey Patrick, freezing in Raleigh. Well, hopefully we can give you some of the warmth that you could. Scott's background over there. Dwayne gives Heidi a shout out. Welcome back, Heidi. See, you were missed. You were missed. Christopher Longley, aloha kakahiaka from freezing cold Menominee, Michigan, where temperatures are balmy 14 degrees. Feels like zero with the wind chill. Oh, joy. Oh, joy, joy, joy. I love the wind chill. Nothing quite much more than fun. Hey, Scott, I'm actually watching, says Brenda. May have to log out, but great to see you. Hey, welcome back, Brenda. Welcome. Good to see you on the show with us. Dylan, I was going to say, man, I think you've got my Aloha shirt color. What's going on there, buddy?
Yeah, this is a living hula. So one of my favorite brands in here, local girl here in Kona that designs these, and so yeah, it's like I don't know, turquoise or something color, but flashy for today. But you're muted. You're on mute, Peter.
That's the new meme, right? You're on mute. That's the new meme of the year. So yeah, I was saying, if it wasn't for a little bit of a lighting shift, we're kind of almost the same color. And Auntie Joyce is enjoying a beautiful morning here on the Big On. Yeah, as Scott was saying, it's really the weather for the past week has been good. Actually, it's kind of funny. I had some family visiting, and while they were visiting, it was that 2 week period where it's like rainier than heck. They got to the beach, I think, once. They went out when it was raining once, and it's, of course, the day they fly out is the day it's absolutely perfect. But that's the way it goes. Hey, Bernard, welcome back, Bernard. Good to see you, buddy. Welcome back to our show over here. All right, I think it's that time, folks. Let's kind of do a quick news update. We're gonna shift it around here a little bit. We're gonna do a so what I'm going to do is I'm changing it around. We're going to do normally we did like a kind of a news and then a real estate market update. We're going to kind of combine the two into one. So let's give that a try and see how it works. So here's what's going on, everybody. So it looks like there is some stuff, there is some movement going on about making the requiring a booster to be considered fully vaccinated. Now that hasn't, the governor, to my knowledge, as of today, has not made any emergency proclamations to that effect, but it is moving. I know that in Maui, for example, the Maui folks are saying that you have to be, they are requiring a booster to get inside. If you're going to go for indoor dining, if you're going to go to indoor dining, bars and gyms, you have to be boosted to be considered fully vaccinated. So that's kind of what's coming up. And if you look at the trend, it seems like everywhere across the mainland, at least, the boosting is becoming kind of a thing. And I'd be interested. Throw me something in the comments, everyone. Have you gotten boosted? Yes or no? I'd like to know about that. That would be kind of interesting. Did you get your boost? And or are you going to get the boost? Right? I'd like to know about that. What's your plans on that? What are you planning on the boosting side? It's going to be higher park fees. There is some movement for higher park fees for tourists. I think they're going to be charging more about if you're going to be, there's certain state parks, there's rates that they're going to be changing. Looks like that's going to be going up. So Hawaii's going to become just a scooch more expensive. Vaishali Murthy says, yep, he's going to be getting the booster. Yep, Vaishali, that looks like it's going to, hope I pronounced that correct, Vaishali. It looks like that's going to be coming. Hey, look, if you and Jim too. Jim has been boosted. Teachers needed. So it looks like there's there's been a chronic shortage of teachers, but they are talking about the Hawaii's Department of Education is talking more about that they're under capacity. They have situations nowadays where kids actually have to hang out in the lunchroom because the teachers are just not there, and nor are there substitutes. So if you're looking for a job, if you're a teacher, this might be something that you want to look into. The Red Hill fuel tanks. A lot of you have been following that Red Hill fuel tank story. A quick update that we have on Oahu. There is an issue where we have some fuel tanks that have been leaking fuel, and some suspect or are afraid it's been going into the water supply. Looks like there's been an order now for the Department of Health that has ordered the Navy, and the Navy has agreed to drain the fuel tanks. About 180 million gallons worth of fuel tanks going around. So that's going to be a big one. And of course, we had a little bit of drama on last week, Saturday. We had a tsunami, which was kind of, I don't want to say the word fun, because tsunami is a number of fun. That could be potentially very dangerous, but it ended up being, there was like a little bit of damage. I think, Dylan, maybe you could help us out on the Big Island. There was a little bit of tsunami damage on the Big Island, but it was kind of a big nothing thing. But boy, everybody was texting us, are you okay? How's the tsunami? Are you alive? I had our family that was visiting. Their family was, texting them, hey, how's the tsunami? How are you doing? We're fine. And then finally, a quick weather overview. It looks like it's going to be, of course, the perfect Hawaii weather. So, all right, with that, that's our quick update. Let's see who's getting a booster upgrade. Well, Jess is getting the booster because she flies so much. Joan's getting her. Judy got boosted on Monday to travel to the Big Island in a couple of weeks. Oh, great, Judy! It's going to be a lot of fun, I'm sure. Just in case, right? Didn't get the booster, got the JJ vaccine. Feel like right now we're fine with the one shot. Yeah, I can. What's interesting is I know what is there going to be a boot? If you got the JJ, do they require a booster is there a booster on the JJ? I don't know. And Juliana's with us. Aloha and welcome back. And Travis is Juliana a contact of yours, Scott? Yeah, I saw a wave over there. Anyway, Juliana, welcome. Travis, I watched this show quietly for the past year. Awesome. I bought a vacation rental in Maui 1 year ago. Couldn't be happy with it. Your show has been invaluable. Well, hopefully, Travis, you worked with Heidi, but if not, that's all right. I hope you're enjoying your stay. Now, I'm sure it's. I'm glad that the show has been helpful to you. Tom got his booster before Christmas. Juliana did get the booster. Good God, Juliana, and totally vaxxed with the Moderna vaccine. Excellent. Well, it looks like people are kind of doing their thing. All right, let's kind of go around. Let's do it clockwise now. Let's do Dylan, then Scott, then Heidi. Give us a quick update. Any kind of news you have on the Big Island that you want to talk about, or real estate updates. Kind of what's going on the market that's worth reporting, Dylan, or any kind of news you want to report on that's occurred over the past 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think the biggest news was the tsunami, right? I think we were the only island that had any type of damage, and it was down. And it's very interesting the way this works, but it must have something to do with the bays kind of collecting, because even if it's a small amount of increase in the sea level in Kailua Bay. Even the last time we had a small tsunami, that's where the damage was, where the water came kind of onto the shoreline. And there's a King Kamehameha hotel down there that had a bunch of water come into the hotel and lobby, and there's canoes that got moved around and stuff. And it wasn't anything significant and massive, but there are other places that you couldn't even tell. So it's a very interesting dynamic where there's a big bay. It seems like maybe that collects and then amplifies the rise in the sea level. But
That's interesting. I've noticed that. You're right about that. It seems like if like no one else gets damaged, but that one spot kind of catches it. Yeah, it reflects it or something like that. God knows what.
And that's something that people got to understand about tsunamis too, right? When they're concerned about them, is tsunamis are probably one of the better natural disasters because you get a lot of lead time and warning time. And even if you don't get the electronic warnings, if you're visually by the ocean, the sea's going to recede before it comes back up, right? So it's not like some massive 50-foot wave just shows up out of nowhere. There's a precursor to a tsunami. And so on the Big Island, luckily, we're such a young island that it's so steep that you can go really 100 feet offshore and you're going to be at 10-12 feet of elevation. And so our tsunami inundation zones are very small on the Big Island. It's not something that unless you're right on the shoreline, it's not always something that you have to worry about. And so it's not always a big, it's not as big of a concern here. And even if we did have a bad one, the reason that we had so much damage in Hilo is that's a lower lying town, and the inundation zone is larger, but that's a kind of a unique area on the island. Most of the island is very steep, and you can go 100 feet offshore, and then you're above the tsunami inundation zone.
Yeah, the Hilo reference is an interesting one. What was it, back in 1940 something?
There's one in the 40s and one in the
right?
I think early 60s. Yeah.
And is that the reason why there's now like that breakwater out of Hilo Bay? That's the purpose of that sort of became the purpose of that, to break that up in some way, shape, or form?
No, the breakwater wouldn't necessarily prevent the tsunami. The breakwater was for the harbor. So you have a place to put the ships in. But again, because it's not, a tsunami is not like the movies. It's not like this huge breaking wave, right? A tsunami is a raise. It's a rise. It's a sudden rise in the sea level.
It's a tidal wave.
Yeah, and so a wall necessarily isn't going to stop it, because if there's water beyond it, the water will rise. The water will continue to rise as it gets towards the shoreline. So
got it.
Yeah, the wall was more to protect the bay from surf, so you could. That's where the Hilo Harbor is, with all of the shipping containers and cruise ships parked and all that stuff.
That's right. That's a good point. Well, Dylan, Heather shares the fear. See, now we've now confirmed that Heather's fears of tsunamis are realized. But Heather, hey, you always have to be careful. But
there's stories of the people in Hilo, right? The reason why so many people died in those tsunamis was they didn't understand the concept, and the water receded, the bay got drained out, and people were going out into the bay and picking fish up because there's fish flopping around, and they didn't, people didn't know what was going on, and then the sea came back in rapidly when the tsunami came in. So that's your indicator. If you see the tide going down quickly, go in the opposite direction. And you should be okay.
Plus, these days, unlike the 40s, boy, we, like you said, there's just like plenty of warning, hours and hours of warning. There's so
much technology.
There's so much, and the warnings and the social media, and your phone goes off, and your friends are calling you. Yeah, so it's all kinds of stuff. All right, anything on the real estate side, Dylan, that's worth mentioning?
Bananas.
Same bananas.
Yeah.
Yes,
losing out on 20% over asking price offers. So
nothing planning up. Scott, give us the Oahu report.
North Shore is 25 to 35 feet.
For the
surf side.
Oh man,
yeah, it's coming in for this today, rising today through the weekend. So we should have some good surf. I remember it when I used to live on the Big Island. I'd get so excited when Oahu North Shore would get massive. It would wrap into Kauai Harbor when I lived over there, and I'd go out surfing. And there were only a couple of places like the Point at 69s that could handle it. Everything else would close out on the Big Island. So, yeah, so we got big surf. So, no, you don't have to worry about, water going out and then rushing back in to come and get you. It's big waves over here right now that are pretty dangerous. So, got to be careful on those. I've seen people get swept out, and the waves come up a long distance. They think they're safe on the sand. Then they get dragged out by the water after it's rushed forward. It's crazy.
I've seen that. I talked about that with our Islander group once. A story that an incredible story. But anyway,
Did,
yes.
did you guys
Uh,
see that video of the Hawaii Fire Department saving that guy in Kona?
Mm-mm.
Like 2 weeks ago when the surf was real big. It was after our last show, but it would look like a movie. The helicopter dropped the basket down. There was a guy on a rock, and you could see the big surf all around them. And the firefighter gets off, throws the guy in the basket, jumps on the basket, and as they're lifting off, this huge wave comes and totally engulfs the rock. Like, I mean, just right inches underneath the basket, and just misses them. And it was crazy. But
oh man, I
shout
gotta
out to
find
the
that.
first responders that put their lives at risk to save. I mean, a lot of. I mean, hate to say it,
That's
but
crazy.
stupid people sometimes, right? I mean, there's no way you should be out in a situation like that when the surf is huge. But we see that every day where people go in the water and they can
Crazy.
barely swim the
I know.
10-foot surf, and you're like, what are you thinking?
Yeah, a lot of these people don't understand the power of the ocean, so they don't respect it. They don't know how to. They don't understand what's going to happen. And then, I mean, and I've even gotten pounded. I stood on a rock for a picture one time, on just kind of goofing around, and this one rogue wave came out of nowhere and just pounded me, and I ended up smashed all over the lava rock with good old cuts everywhere.
Yeah, that lack of respect of the ocean. Do not respect the ocean at your own risk. I don't know how that doesn't come out right, but boy, you don't respect the ocean. You are taking a big. There's all to this day, and I go surfing. Try to do it twice a week. To this day, when I get out of the water, like I go to Makapu Beach all the time. When I get out of the water, I always get out of the water walking backwards. Always, and that's just out of habit. Scott, anything on the real estate market that you want to report on?
Yeah, I mean, nothing's changed, especially on the single family home side. The crazy one, and I'd be interested to hear what Heidi and Dylan, if you guys have looked at it. We've got 399 active home listings on Oahu right now. So we're already midway through January, and it hasn't picked up enough to where we were at mid 400s last year. And in 2006, 2007, we're in the 800 range. And so we're at 399. There's literally no inventory. I got 3 escrows this past week, 100, 300, and 400,000 over asking. So, that's where we're trending over here on the single family home side. On the condo side, we have 1,055 condos to choose from. Now, that sounds like a lot more, but it's really not. It's very limited inventory. Probably 65, 70% of most of the inventory on Oahu between single family homes and condos would be condos. So you're going to have more that are on the market, but that we hit 10% price appreciation for last year in condos. I expect that to be higher because the inventory has disappeared. But the big key to keep an eye on right now, interest rates have really started to move up, and the Fed's already talking about what they're going to do. So I do see interest rates moving up pretty well this year, and that should, where the inventory levels are right now, we should be at 20% price appreciation for this year, and I think that's going to tampen it some, 10, 15%. So hopefully it slows it down some.
Well, we're gonna find. Well, it depends on how much of flex, how much whatever. There's a word there. There's an economic big word in that. There's somewhere elasticity. It depends how much elasticity there is in the prices. How much that interest rate rise is going to affect it. It's going to affect it some. Well, what we don't know is how much. I just got my Zillow report that on my zip code there, and I saw the with my own 2 eyes the price appreciation of 20% over that 1 year, which is just absolutely remarkable. Kind of blew me away. Heidi, give us the update. What's any kind of news you want to report on the feedback of the boosting, or how's the Maui market going? Anything you want to share with us, Heidi? Welcome back.
Thank you. Well, a baby white whale was spotted off of Sugar Beach on Maui, and this is very, very rare. So I thought that was kind of cool. There's some video footage of it online if you want to look at it. But the person who filmed the whale named it Betty White because it was sighted on what would have been Betty White's, the actress's, 100th birthday. So if you've been waiting for the white whale, it's here.
Wow, that's big news. White whale spotted off Maui, and that is like classic Hawaii news, right? It makes the headlines. It's a big deal, etc. How's the Maui market going on, Heidi? Anything you want to report on that's worth mentioning?
It's still a strong seller's market. I am continually surprised how we keep making new highs, especially in condos. mean, you can't even look at the comps 6 months ago because it's a different market right now. But I mean, the way to go is just adapt to it and be ready and waiting. I mean, it's not for somebody that is slow. I mean, you have to be ready to take action when the right property comes up. But I've in my business, I've just been focusing on adapting and working with buyers in advance to help them get ready because there still are good deals to be had and there still are strategies you can use to be successful and win out in multiple offer situations. But yeah, I mean, that's the story we've been telling for months now, and it continues. I mean, we want to see signs of slowing down. Haven't seen that just yet.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like you said, you got to be ready. You got to have all your research done. You want to. That's one of the good reasons why you want to work with someone who's really experienced. You want to have that stuff ready to go because when you need to pull that trigger, you need to do it quickly. Scott, I'm still kind of blown away by the $400,000 over asking. I mean, obviously that had to be a multi-million-dollar property, but still, just the fact of the over asking is more than the cost of most homes on the mainland is just mind-boggling. Mind-boggling.
Yeah, Heidi brought up a good point. Good point there. 6 months ago, comps are not comps. Like an appraiser typically uses the last
And
6
by
months
excuse
comps.
me, by comps, I mean comparable properties.
Sales.
Comparable
Yes,
sales. Comparable
homes that have
properties.
sold that are comparable in the last 6 months. That's how appraisals work. That's how we work to kind of just establish value. And so for me, you obviously have to adjust in this market. So for me, I go back 1 month. I start with 1 month back, then I go back 2 or 3 if there's nothing in there. And at that point, I'll go back 6 and start looking at it, but then I start going outside in other areas to see, because 6 months ago is just an eternity ago in this market.
Boy, well, if you got a 20% increase in 1 year, that's huge. All right, we have a couple things here to catch up on. Joan reported that Wash News parts of California got hit worse than we did, which of course is unfortunate. We wish that was not the case. Hey, thanks, Steve. Steve is digging the frames, right, Steve? This is not just like a Zoom. It's not a recorded Zoom call, right? We're like up a notch here at living in Hawaii, man. We're the Hawaii Real Estate Show. It's a click up. It's a click up. Thanks, Steve. I appreciate that. Let's see. Auntie Joyce has got a question for us. I want to kind of hit. Is it only Honolulu that requires a 1 month VRBO rentals? Friends on the mainland have been searching for a place for Pacific Cup and heating. Well, legally, Joyce, it's a vacation rentals. If well, Scott, why don't you spell out the current ruling? You've got this on more than I do about the work with VRBOs or 1 month rentals, short term vacation rentals, etc. How does that work?
Yeah, so resort zoned, you got to go resort zone, which there's only like 3 areas, and even then there's some restrictions, but Waikiki, Ko'olina, and then Turtle Bay.
Yep.
Give you resort zone, and so that's less than 30 days. Anything else is going to be apartment or residential zoning, which is 30 days minimum, and then there's other restrictions within that. So.
Yeah, so Auntie Joyce, when you tell your friends, basically they need to find a place, as Scott said, either in Waikiki or Ko'olina, which is in West Oahu, or the North Shore of Turtle Bay. If they could, I'd go Turtle Bay, but you're in the middle of nowhere. It's away from everything, but it's great. Scott, go ahead.
Yeah, that bill actually is coming up. Actually, I think they had some of the testimony yesterday for whether they're going to change residential and apartment zoning to minimum 6 months for the rental time period. So that's coming up for vote here soon. We'll see what happens with that.
So, Auntie Joyce, tell your friends this: if you think 1 month is bad, wait till 6 months shows up, and you're going to have to stay 6 months as opposed to 1 month. It's going to essentially kind of kill that market for the most part. Paul's been with us before. I remember you, Paul, about your Singapore questions earlier. Hawaiians do not like the Singapore housing solution. What about Monaco's reclaiming land from the sea and building housing on that? My general, yeah. So Dylan's cracking up because Dylan knows what the political. Paul, we can't put a stick in the water. We can't put a stick in the water. Hawaii is very Hawaii is extraordinarily environmentally conscious, extraordinarily environmentally protective for lots of good reasons. Not all of them good reasons, but for lots of reasons. People really, really, really care about the environment here, and they don't want to mess it up at all. And one thing they would never want to, I know they would never agree to in any way, shape, or form is doing any kind of a modification of the coastline beyond what it's already been modified. Paul, you missed the fun that we had maybe a decade ago, where we couldn't even add on a dock for the ferry, for the super ferry. It was called the super ferry. We had a ferry that was going to go between islands. We couldn't even add a dock in an existing shipping area for a ship to go back and forth. So if we can't do that, the heck if we're going to do. And again, everyone's typically is anti-development here as well, which is one reason why the prices are so high. So Paul, nice try. It's ain't gonna happen. It's gonna be, the prices are going up, and that's the way it goes. So, Scott,
let me comment real quick on that, right?
Dylan,
So
please, let's hear the Dylan comment here.
That may be something that you would look at on Oahu, but for the reality is on the other islands, and I can speak to the Big Island specifically. I ask people all the time. I think we've had this discussion before. What is an appropriate percentage of the land mass to build stuff on, whether it's houses or anything? And most people have never considered that question or asked themselves that question or have any context as to how much land is already developed. And the reality is, in the Big Island, less than 4% of the island or less than 5% of the island is zoned for any type of development. And so if you increase that by 1% and we went to 5%, 5.5%, you would have a 20% increase in the amount of land available to do something on. So you don't need to do anything crazy. I mean, you don't need super dense high rises. You don't need to reclaim land from the ocean. All you got to do is make a little bit more land that's already here. We have 95% of the island has nothing on it, and we'll never ever have anything on it because it's conservation land, or it's large Kamehameha Schools Trust land, it's federal land. But yeah, we have a problem because we have a lack of availably zoned land to do anything on.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to pose it, Dylan. If you say, "Oh, what percentage?" Well, people will say, "Oh, maybe 10%, 15%." You say, "Well, wait a minute, we're only at 4%."
And the same is that I'm sure the same is true of Maui and Kauai. If you look around, I mean, 95% of those islands, and Oahu, I bet Oahu's got 30% of the island developed, maybe 25 or something. I don't know, but it's still plenty of
there's a good chance. And so if you do that, it's it's kind of funny, right? I remember in polling, tell me the answer you want, and I'll tell you the question to ask, right? So you'd ask it from that perspective. The other one would be, show a big piece of, here we had a controversy 30 years ago on Sandy Beach, right? And there was this big, huge piece of, undeveloped land, and they were going to put some homes there. And as soon as people saw the visualization of having these homes that were somewhat near the coast, it was, everybody erupted in saying, "No way, Jose." So Dylan, the other way to ask your question would be, show this big piece of empty land and say, do you want a high rise here? And everyone's going to say no. So it all depends. Tell me the answer that you want, and I'll give you the question. Joan is reflecting the local sentiment. Thank God for that. Let's leave the ocean alone. Exactly, Joan. It's Joan's perspective is the perspective that is echoed by practically everyone who lives here, for better or for worse. And Auntie Joyce, Kaneohe is not going to be where they're going to go. Auntie Joyce says, we're looking in Kaneohe where the race ends. That's definitely outside of the zones. I forgot what the word is here. But you're definitely going to have to do a month plus in that. That's for sure. Let's see. Okay, I think we've got that set. All right, so let's move on over here. Let's take a quick little station plug. Hey, if you've come here, we love that you're here. If you got here because of the invitation on the newsletter, great. If you didn't get an invitation on the newsletter to show up here, it means you're not on the newsletter. So go to livinginhawaii.com. A thing will pop up to put in your email address, or you can kind of click on one of the just scroll down the homepage, and there'll be a place for you to sign up for that newsletter. Get in on that so you get the free updates and free content. Video. I got a video that's coming out next week about why a recap and a retelling of the great story about why the Big Island is a bad place for criminals. That's a fun one. All right. Here's a topic that I want to kind of go into today with everyone, which is what does Hawaii offer? So here's the question. The question that popped in, let me put my friends up here. Okay. So the question that popped in was from Patrick. Patrick, is that you who put in this question? What entertainment does Hawaii offer? Concerts, sports, any other interesting events? So thanks, Patrick, for that. I appreciate that. And by the way, Patrick, if the Patrick that we know of who comes on the show, pop up and let me know if that was you. Anyway, So I thought this was an interesting question, and I thought it might be fun for us to have kind of a larger discussion about that. So I got some clarifying questions, which is, how is Hawaii's entertainment scene different from the mainland? How would you contrast the what makes Hawaii different? What you would, if you're coming from the mainland, what differences that you should expect to see? And the other follow-on question is, what do islanders do for entertainment? So those are basically a couple of topical things that I'd like us to kind of to get into. And let's go counterclockwise. Let's go Heidi, then Scott, then Dylan. Heidi, how would you answer this? What's your take on, what does Hawaii offer? What's Hawaii's entertainment scene? And Maui, of course, is a lot quieter than Oahu. So I really would like to know, what do Maui Islanders do? What's the entertainment scene like on Maui?
Yeah, great question. So on Maui, we have the Musical Arts and Cultural Center. We call it the MAC, and it's an outdoor amphitheater. They actually bring in a lot of big name entertainers and concerts there. And it is an awesome place to see a concert because it's smaller than some of the big concert venues on the mainland where you'd see the same type of show. So that's a good place to go. At the end of the summer, we have the Maui Film Festival in Wailea, and that is a big event with celebrities, parties. It's outdoor film viewing. That's super fun. And then there's smaller venues like bars where you can go hear local entertainers and live music. And then just the outdoors and nature is entertainment. I mean, the other day I was walking down on the beach path and there were all these people in beach chairs just sitting, looking at the ocean, watching the whales and clapping when the whales were breaching. So, I mean, that can be entertainment too.
Watching the white whale come in, yeah. At well, that's kind of part of the following part of my question was, what do islanders do for entertainment, right? So thank you, Heidi, for sharing what islanders do. Heidi, is there anything else you'd like to add? What islanders do for entertainment, or anything that's notable on the entertainment scene that comes to mind?
I mean, surfing, ocean activities, fishing, out snorkeling. I mean, outdoor activities is probably number one and one of the main reasons people come to Hawaii.
It's a very different, very sort of different entertainment scene. Scott, how would you answer that? How would you answer Patrick's question? What's the entertainment scene? Oahu's kind of a big, much different than the other islands. Sports, concerts. What do we do here, or what do islanders do on Oahu, Scott?
Yeah, shout out to Patrick and Raleigh. I grew up in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I know there was a nice storm back there not too long ago. I got friends in Raleigh that actually texted me pictures, so I'm sure 2 inches of snow probably shut the city down. Yeah, here, we get a lot of concerts. We have the Blaisdell Concert Hall. We used to have Aloha Stadium, which it seems like they're not going to be using anymore, and the Waikiki Shell, which is right down the street from me, which is, to me, an awesome outdoor amphitheater to be able to watch. I remember when Jack Johnson was doing his annual concert here, and he was doing it at the Waikiki Shell, and it's awesome because Diamond Head's in the background. You're outdoors, you got the palm trees swaying, it's warm weather, and there were some pretty good artists that come in. I love the Blaisdell, and part of the reason it's like 10,000 people, so it's a very intimate arena compared to going to a lot of the mainland ones where you got 60,000 people at a stadium, and you don't need binoculars. I remember watching the Eagles when they came some years ago, probably 6 or 7 years ago. I was on the side corner and I was probably 20, 30 feet from the stage. It was an amazing, intimate experience to be able to see a bigger group like that. We typically don't get the huge groups. We'll get the Bruno Mars because he was from here, and he sold out Aloha Stadium 3 straight nights, and it was pretty crazy. But I remember U2. This was probably 10 years ago. They were finishing their tour. They had to cancel the Hawaii one because someone had gotten sick in the family or whatever. So they made Hawaii the final of their tour, and they brought in a couple of groups. Pearl Jam was playing with them on stage and whatnot. And then they had a big after party on the Mighty Mo for that. So we get regular concerts. Blue Note is a great place to go to watch comedians and smaller groups and whatnot play music. But yeah, like Heidi said, I know moving out here for me, my interests and passions shifted significantly. Growing up in North Carolina, I grew up on Tobacco Road, so it was ACC basketball, football, college football, NFL football, and you wake up and those games start at like noon, 1 o'clock. Here, they're starting at 7 in the morning, and I find myself nowadays way less interested in sports, and sports were a big part of my life. It's more about being out in the water, being outdoors, enjoying the weather and the lifestyle that we have here.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned it. Uh, I was never a concert goer to begin with, and I was born in Chicago. Came here when I was 20 years old, and I was never a big concert goer ever, and so I didn't kind of miss a thing. It was fine by me, but there's been some adjustments. Sometimes the acts are big acts come once in a while, the final part of the tour, like the vacation tour, et cetera, et cetera. But I will agree with you. I've done a couple of concerts at the Waikiki Shell, and it is just the coolest place to be, exactly as you described. But Jessica has given us what the locals really do. Thanks, Jess. You caught on quick. Jessica is a alumni of the Islander Ohana and has recently moved to Oahu with Wes. And Hawaii offers cheap flights to Las Vegas for all your entertainment need. Hawaii's, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's called the Eighth Island, right, guys? Vegas is called the Eighth Island because that is
Ninth Island. Ninth Island.
Thank you, Ninth Island. Oh, what's the eighth? I thought we had 7 islands. Anyway, yeah, it's the Ninth Island, and everyone, all the locals. Vegas is where it's at. I mean, we have direct flights, and you can get a cheap fares and all kinds of good stuff. It all kind of flies in. So a couple of comments to catch up on. Patrick, I guess it wasn't you. Okay, at least, but I did remember you were from Raleigh, right? So it wasn't you, but it was just as good anyway. Gil says, how hard is it to travel from island to island? Yes, it is essentially only via inter-island flights. They tried to build a ferry, but ferry is not happening, and no one really takes a boat. Takes too long. It's too choppy. The water's too rough. So yeah, it's pretty much inter-island flights. We're still waiting for the highway. That's going to be cool one of these days. The big tunnel. Just kidding. Not happening. Auntie Joyce lived in New York City and Bay, so I had must have Broadway, ballet, concert, sports, but fine here. I really don't miss it all that much. That was with me. See, I never got into it in the first place. But we definitely don't have. This is definitely not a ballet, Broadway. Those are rare occurrences. We get the occasional band. So that's kind of where that all flies. Dylan, give us the Big Island angle. What's the entertainment scene like there, and then what do people do on the Big Island for entertainment?
The biggest, I mean, I guess what you consider entertainment, right? I mean, if you're thinking about like concerts and sporting events and stuff, we definitely are restricted, mainly because we don't have the venues for it. We have one kind of small venue over on the Hilo side where the Merry Monarch Festival is held every year, and that's the premier hula festival, in the world. So it's the only place you can see that. It's very hard to get into. But any type of concert or kind of event is held, and that thing I think only has a 4,000 person capacity or something like that. So we don't have large events per se, but I would say outside of all of the outdoor activities and entertainment, which are second to none on all the islands, we have a culture of doing really good parties and having a venue in your house, right? So to me, Super Bowl parties here, I do every time there's a UFC pay-per-view, I got a big gathering. I would argue the food that, it's a big event, right? We're not just buying pizzas and chicken wings. Like, we're smoking briskets and grilling out steaks, and people do an emu and do a pig for the Super Bowl, so those types of events, it's more of a family community type thing. And you have a really good venue for that in your house, or you got a big lanai with a big screen TV or whatever it is. A lot of people build their living situation around the ability to have gatherings and enjoy events like that just from your home. So I went to an NFL football game for the first time in my life back in October, and it was a really cool experience. But I mean, I also like hanging out with all my friends in my house and having, amazing food and cheap beer, so.
Well, Auntie Joyce agrees. And Dylan gives the best parties with the best people and the best food. There you go. We have an on the scene eyewitness. Thank you, Auntie Joyce, for adding.
Yes, she has partaken.
And I think Dylan, thanks for that. I mean, that is the essence of kind of what I wanted to bring out here is that how are we different? I think, Heidi had mentioned, that it's watching sunsets in Wales. Scott had mentioned, the surfing and this outdoor lifestyle, which is absolutely kind of where the focus has shifted. And Dylan, thanks for routing that up, which is really if you think about it, these big family and friend gatherings, right? To me, that roots itself back to like old Polynesian culture, right? I mean, I could definitely see a cultural outgrowth of that. Pre-contact Hawaii, what was Hawaii like, right? What did they do for entertainment? It was gatherings, big or small family gatherings, and I think Dylan, you kind of hit the nail on the head. I think it's a big replacement here is these big get-togethers, right? Like you said, so many people. There are so many outdoor. I'd love to know what like the per capita of outdoor grills is in Hawaii. I'm sure it's huge. Lots of people I know, right, have the lanai built out, the whole bit. Scott, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean that it's funny because if you think about it, you go down to Kapiolani Park in the weekend, right, on a Saturday morning. People they're trying to grab the parking space. They're getting their big old tents out. Family and friends are all coming out. They're going to hang out at the beach and in the park for the day. Maybe the kids going surfing and stuff, but it's just a way to relax and get together with people. And I'd say that's probably one of the bigger things here. We do have off-Broadway productions and whatnot that you can go to here in Honolulu. So you get most of the stuff, but it's still, when I lived on the Big Island, it was Old A's and Pine Trees. We used to go down there, tents are up, everyone's out, hanging out, mingling, relaxing, and getting in the water.
Yeah, that's what it comes out to. Does anyone
And
else
we
have?
and we
Go
have
ahead.
we have year-round sports too, right? So it may not be like the big professional sporting events, but if you go to an AYSO soccer weekend, I mean, it is jam-packed with tents and families watching. Our high school football teams are very well supported and lots of people attend. And so that's one of the things that I think people do for entertainment too, is you can do outdoor sports year round here. So at any given time, there's baseball happening, softball happening, volleyball. There's always outdoor activities that are organized and that the community gets behind and supports.
Thanks for bringing that up. That is a huge difference, I believe. Huge difference between Hawaii and the mainland, which is high school football. High school football here is like the NFL, man, right? I mean, it is like, it's like the whole deal, like quote, big football games that, the high school rivalries like mean like everything in Hawaii. Scott, you were going to say something.
Oh yeah, it was funny. I mean, I was noticing the playoffs this year for high school football were on pay-per-view. People were actually paying for it. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. The following for high school football here is something I've never seen before.
Yeah, it's sort of like the desire, the local desire for football entertainment, right, has gotten completely sort of focused on the high school scene as opposed to the national scene. I mean, maybe because we have to wake up at 7 in the morning, and no one in their right mind is going to wake up at 7 in the morning to watch a football game live. Who knows? I don't know what the reasons, but I just kind of threw that one out there. Here, folks in the chat, who would get up at 7 a.m. to watch a football game on a consistent basis? I'd like to know. Let us know. But the whole high school thing, which is a whole other topic about high schools and how much a cultural foundation high school graduations, that's another one, right? High school graduations in Hawaii are huge turnouts, huge events. The entire clan shows up for a high school graduation, and the goal, folks, real quick aside over. So I guess it's entertainment side in a sense, but these high school graduation parties, the goal when you show up is to, if you're the grad, you want to get lays. Everyone brings a lei, right? So friends and family bring lays, and the goal, what you want as a grad, is you want to have lays over the top of your head. That's the goal. If lays go over the top of your head and you can't see anything, that's how you know that you've got like you kind of like you won the contest, right? It's almost like, how many pages in my homework kind of a thing. Auntie Joyce is popping in over here. First time I realized how important high school football here was during the mayoral debate, where most candidates were coaches and talked about the games where they all played each other. Yeah, man. I mean, there's a ex-politician, Mufi Hanneman, that still talks to this day about his Iolani High School years when he was a basketball player, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, all kinds of excellent. Anything else, you guys, that popped to mind about the entertainment scene and how Hawaii is different, or something that you want to point out that people would kind of see as a difference, or would kind of highlight the contrast in Hawaii? Anybody want to just jump in? All right.
One other thing, which is super cool about entertainment here, is and this is if you enjoy Hawaiian music and like local entertainment, but you can go to, really small venues on any given Thursday, Friday, Saturday night and have a extremely high level um Hawaiian musician playing and some beautiful hula dancer dancing, right? And so that's a super cool thing is you don't have to necessarily go to some really organized, high priced, ticketed event where I was at the Outrigger the other weekend and Gary Haleama was playing. And if you know who he is, I mean, he's a legend in Hawaiian music, and he's just there, and playing for the restaurant, so he was the restaurant entertainment that night. And so you have these opportunities, Cecilia and Capono, those guys, play at uh the Royal Kona Resort on the weekends. And so you have these really cool opportunities to see just amazing entertainers that are just there while you're eating dinner. You didn't even know they were going to be there, right? So that really adds a really cool effect to it.
That's a great point. I mean, and to riff onto that, and because there's a term, there's a local Hawaiian word, kanakapila. Kanakapila means to kind of get together and informally, friends and family getting together, playing music, just kind of winging it, playing whatever song comes to mind. The kanakapila, right? So in that kanakapila tradition. Dylan, what I've also seen in that same thing, there's like a big name, a local big name entertainer who's just kind of got to be the lounge singer, so to speak, right? And he's kind of playing at dinner. And I've also seen, spontaneously, a girl will get up who knows to dance the song, and then she'll dance hula right in front of the guy, and they'll just kind of do it and just kind of wing it, just right out of the audience, right? Someone just come in this kanakapila tradition, because this is what families do for these local get-togethers. They'll bring out the ukuleles, they'll kind of do their thing, and bam, 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 before you know it, everyone's there. So that's really kind of cool. Hey, let's see, it's 10:41. We should do our let's do our diamonds and deals. I got a slide here, and if you're here, I'm going to take it, but if you're not here, I'm just going to skip it. So Travis from Wahiwa, Travis, if you're here, throw a comment so that I know that you're here. But otherwise, I'm gonna go forward, and we're gonna do our diamonds and deals. Let's see, where is that diamonds and deals slide? Hold on a quick second, fans, while we put this over here. Let's see. Where is she? Diamond. There we go. Diamonds and deals. All right. Click through that speed dialing. Auntie Joan popped in. There's even music and hula dancers entertaining the farmers that Saturday morning. Yeah, Auntie Joyce. That's kind of where it's at. You can go to a farmer's market and get some local entertainment. That's kind of how it works. Tom says it's SB soccer ball football. I'm not too sure. It's about 2 a.m. for me, so I'm getting ready for that.
Super Bowl.
Super Bowl. Thank you. See, that tells you how much I watch football, right? In fact, the one and only time I've ever watched a 3/4 of a football game at all was the Super Bowl in 1985 when the Bears killed it. It was like a legendary year of the Bears when they were so awesome. They made a music video that they were going to win. Okay, it's sorry for the distract. All right, it's time for diamonds and deals. We got some kind of cool properties that I've asked my friends to bring up and share the best of both. Let's see what we got here. So Heidi's going to open this on this one with Honoa Pi'ilani Road, a 1-bedroom, 1-bath. Heidi, what are we looking at here?
So this is a diamond and a deal, mostly because of the price point, $510. It is fee simple. This is a condo it's about a 6-story building. It's hotel zoned, and it's across the street from the beach. So this particular condo, it has no view, but you are so close to that really nice beach you can see on the upper right-hand corner. As a vacation rental, it rents out around $180, $200 a night, or you can live here full time. The maintenance fees are about $630 a month. And yeah, it's probably going to go fast.
That in these days, that is a deal because you've got that vacation rental possibility. I love that ocean view, Heidi, at the upper right. Is that kind of like right outside the property? I didn't catch it. Is this oceanfront, beachfront? What's this property like?
So this building is not oceanfront. It's across the street from the ocean. So you have to walk across the street, and then there's some other resorts right in front of the beach. So you have to walk through there, and then you're on that beach.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Heidi. That is just so horrible. I actually have to cross the street to get to the beach. I don't think that's going to be acceptable Just kidding. That's an amazing property. All right, who would want to get on in this Maui property for 510 with a 1 bedroom, 1 bath? Throw it in the comments. I want to hear about it. All right, what's next? We got Coco Villas. Scott, what's this?
Yeah. So, just to give you perspective, this is a small development basically in the back of Hawaii Kai, right next to Kalama Valley, and the Hawaii Kai golf course butts up to it. And to give you a little bit of perspective, probably one of the most creative transactions I've ever done, most creative sales, and Peggy might be on the show today. I sold the premier property right on the front on the golf course, elevated up. You look out across the golf course, you have ocean views, and you had Maui Molokai views. And this was back in 2009 at the bottom of the previous bust. And we sold it, seller financing, car, furniture included in the sale, and the ability for the buyer to build a pool. Unheard of things that you do, and you never add these things into transactions, especially construction components typically. But we got it done, and that sale was $1.145 million. So this is a backside, not even on the golf course. Here we are, 13 years later. So it gives you perspective on what the Hawaii market does for performance. This is on the backside. Amazing pool and spa. It's the same floor plan. It's 3,200 square feet roughly, 4 bedroom, 3.5 bath. They got 10-foot ceilings in here. You get a 3-car garage, and you have the pool and spa area really nicely redone, but $2.3 million to give you perspective on where the market's gone in this neighborhood from 2009 to present.
And it's not just this neighborhood. This is an island-wide thing, or maybe even a statewide thing. The prices have gone up, just amazingly. So that looks amazing, Scott. I love that view is. I could see what that view would be incredible. And Heather is commenting, that beach in Lahaina looks amazing, right? That's kind of what I was thinking. I mean that I'm going to go back to that just because those blues and those hues. Heidi, I think you ought to make the main shot ought to be the beach shot, because who cares about the inside of the condo, man? I want to see that amazing beach that you're going to. But yeah, well said, Heather. Well said. All right, let's go to the next one here. Banyan tree, Dylan. What do we got here? A 2 bedroom, 2 bath. Wow.
Yeah, this is, direct oceanfront, like literally, 10 feet off the ocean. And this whole complex, I really like this complex in Kona because there's not that many units, and they're all like this. They have these big lanais, and you're looking like right into the water, basically outside. And this is right out. It's called Banyan Tree because there's a big banyan tree, but there's also a surf spot called Banyans that it's looking into, and it's the best surf spot really in Kona. It's kind of like the pipeline of Kona. If you could have a pipeline, it's not as big, but it's a fast breaking barreling wave, and the closest thing to pipeline that we have on the Big Island. But yeah, under 900,000 for a 2 bedroom, 2 bath condo. It's pretty good deal, and you can vacation rent this, or you can live in it and enjoy that view right there. And you can see that top picture of the living room and the water behind it. You're basically looking from the living room and the kitchen out right directly into the ocean all day. So really cool property.
That is, I must say, that is an amazing property. Especially the way that this shot is taken out the lanai. It's almost like you could jump off the lanai and get wet in the water. You're just like
almost.
There.
Almost. There's probably 20 feet of lawn in front of the complex, and then the ocean right there. Seawall and then the ocean.
Sure, of course. But still, it's crazy. And for the surfers, man, you could even tell as a surfer, you could even tell in this shot that you got these, clean, straight swell lines. You can even see there's two swell lines that are coming in. It looks like a great
And it's
spot.
actually central to really two of the best. So it's right directly in front of Banyans. And then if you're looking at that picture, you can see that point out there. That's Lyman's Point. And that's the biggest, probably when it gets really big, that wave it has to be pretty big for that wave to break, but it's a long, clean left off of that point. And so two of the best surf spots in Kona are literally right there.
Which actually brings up another point. Another form of unique local entertainment is to sit at the surf spot and watch. Surfing is a great spectator sport, right? And there's a handful of places. That would be one of them. So Dylan, could you?
People ask me about traffic, right? I tell them, well, you got to avoid traffic from 7 to 8, and then at 2:30 to 3:30 when school's getting out. And then when it's big surf, there's going to be traffic. So you kind of predict that. But that's the other time there's going to be traffic is big surf.
Yeah, no kidding, right? And I was just thinking about imagine if I'm going to pull it this properly. So imagine if if you leave here, your answer for your entertainment is, well, we sit in our living room and we look out and watch the surfers for hours, right? Or we have coffee in the morning and watch the surf. Um, Surfing is another great spectator sport. If you go to like Sandy Beach or Pipeline, there's a couple of places on Oahu where you can sit. Really, in fact, Sandy Beach, you could literally just pull up your car into a parking stall, and the parking stall is like right above the sand, and just like 30 or maybe about a not even about 100 feet out, you got giant waves breaking and amazing spectator sport. So that's a real fun one. Looks like Heather, you're going to need to get rid of your fear of tsunamis. But yeah, Heather, if there was anything worth getting rid of your fear of tsunamis, Heather, I would say this is it. That's what I would say. I would say this is worth getting over the fears of tsunamis, man. This is the place. All right, excellent. Hey folks, we got about 10 minutes left, and so I wanted just to kind of and give everybody kind of a 10-minute warning. If you have any questions, if there's anything you'd like to bring up, if there's anything you'd like to say, bring it up now so we can kind of cover it and deal with and handle your question. I'd like to know. So out of the ones that you saw, let's go back over. This is always fun. I like to ask all these questions here. So if we go back, let's see here. How do I go back on this darn thing? Okay, here we go. I got to click on the previous button. Okay, so here's the one. So which one speaks to you? That's what I would say. Which one speaks to you, folks? Is it the 1 bedroom, 1 bath in Maui with these amazing views across the street of the ocean? Is it the property that abuts this area near the golf course in the backside of the southeast area of Oahu with the ocean kind of nearby? Or is it this like right on the water, 2 bedroom, 2 bath on the Big Island? Which property speaks to you? Pop it in the comments so we can kind of see what you like. Why don't we do this? Let's see. I think we're running out of time, so I don't have the time to take that one question, but we'll take it next week. Let's just kind of move into our closing thoughts, and I'll take any kind of questions that you folks have got, and or comments, and we'll pop that all on here. So let me kind of back up here for a sec, get the right thing. We got the answers that are coming in. So Auntie George says Banyan went for rental income. Yeah, I would say Banyan for rental, but I say Banyan to live there. I'll rent the other part and then do the Banyan and live there. That's what I would say, Auntie Joyce. And Heather says, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. That could do it. I'll take you up on the invite, Joyce. There you go. That's it. That's the one.
That one does have rental history of almost 6 figures, high 90,000s a year in producing rental income.
Wow. Now that's well, you know what? We got to do a segment on ROI. That's what the other question was for, and we don't have the time to go into it. But I definitely would like to know if you're saying that, then what does that mean ROI? If it's 90 grand a year, I have to kind of do the math, but sounds like it's going to work. So here's Gil's question. Does a single family, 1 floor only, 3 bedroom, 2 bath, move-in ready under 900K exist in any of these areas, or am I hallucinating? That's a Scott question. Scott, go ahead. I'm going to have you answer that. You're the guy.
Yeah, it does. It exists. Probably you're basically starting in those areas in the, if you're getting out Kapolei or Makakilo, you're probably starting in the upper 7s for something decent and going up from there. So they're there.
So it exists. It's there. It's going to be hard to find these days. You're going to have to be ready. And have to be.
Mililani's tougher, but Mililani's probably going to be right around that 900. Yep.
Right. So Gil, you're close. You are close. Let's see. Judy, who is an alumni of the Islander Ohana, says Big Island speaks to me. Could live anywhere just to be there. Well, Judy, I think that well, you've got your spot, right? You've got your place, and you'll be coming out soon, which is going to be awesome. Val, hey Val, welcome. Good to see your comment. Val says Big Island and short-term vacation rentals. Well, that's the one right there. That's going to do it. Joan says, Heather, everywhere has something. I grew up with hurricanes in New York, moved to California with earthquakes, then Colorado with tornadoes. I'd rather take my chances in paradise. Thank you, Joan, for that great comment. That's true. I wonder what the statistics would actually be on sort of how much damage in dollar value is done by weather, and which state in the country gets the most damage. I'll bet it's got to be like Florida, who gets like whacked with hurricanes.
I always remind people that worry about any type of natural disaster. If you get in a car every day, your likelihood of dying is about 10,000 times greater than dying in any type of natural disaster. So avoid your car if you're worried about it.
There you go. And I will add to that, as our thank goodness, as our world has modernized, this is something for you, Heather. Heather, go to the website. It's called Our World in Data. They got incredible statistics. They're like the world authority. They're like with the Wikipedia for authority on numbers. And look at the number of deaths due to natural disasters. It's absolutely remarkable. If you look at our modern society, our deaths from natural disasters are like down like 95% since they were some time ago, whether it was 50 years ago or 60 years ago, I'm not sure, but it's an incredible testimony to the modern world that we live in. And how awesome it all goes. Gil, awesome, thank you. I'll tell my wife to start packing now. There you go, Gil. We'll get a hold of Scott and we'll get you guys into something. And Judy says, yeah, Joan, love that. Gonna use it when people doubt our future moves. I'll take my chance in paradise. Judy, Jill, Jones just got like the best one-liners. She's awesome. So yeah, Heather agrees. We have fire season. There you go. So you got fire season in Oregon. Everyone's got their thing, right? Everyone's got their thing. It's the way it works. Like Dylan says, just stop driving your car if you're feeling unsafe. All right. Hey, thanks everybody. Let's gonna round this up over here, and we're gonna pop into our closing thoughts. So we have a few our moment over here, and there was actually a slide. Who brought the one of the but the MLK quote? Whose is that?
Oh, that was me.
Okay, good. So we get some closing motivational thoughts from our friends here. Dylan, why don't you open up with your closing thought?
Of course, this wasn't planned, but given this discussion, right, it's almost connected. But given this was Martin Luther King week, I thought it was appropriate, and I saw this and I just really liked it. That take the first step in faith. You don't have to see the whole staircase; just take the first step, right? So don't overthink it. Have a little bit of faith, and it'll
Just
work
take
out.
that first step. Take the first step. You don't have to see the whole staircase. That's a great line. Great line. Love it. Scott, what's your closing thought for today?
Yeah, mine is, I saw one the other day that I thought was funny. The bad news is time flies. The good news is you're the pilot. So we're here for a short period of time. Seize the day every day.
Seize the day every day. I love that you're the pilot. That's I've never heard that before. The time flies, but you're the pilot. Indeed, you are. That I think that is actually just to riff on that, Scott, for a moment. I think that is the biggest difference I've noticed with certain personality types of people. There are some people that go through this world and I think one of the big differences that I've seen on those that are satisfied with their lives versus others who are struggling is the ones who are satisfied know that they're the pilot. We're all the pilot. All of us are we are the captains of our ships. The big difference is whether you're the captain or not. Some don't know that they're the captain, but they are the captain. Go ahead, Scott.
It was funny when I first moved out here and Facebook first came on and I started becoming friends with people that back in North Carolina and stuff. And this is not to knock them. Everyone chooses their own path. 98% of the people that I connected with from back in North Carolina that I went to high school with, for example, were within probably a 2-hour radius of where we grew up. And the few of us that had gotten out are gone, like nowhere near where we grew up and things. And I don't know, for me, doing my study abroad in England, that really gave me the bug to realize that there's so much more out there to experience in the world. So when I moved out here with my return trip ticket for 3 months later, and I never used it, this 22 years later now, it's ingrained in me at this point, and it was set when I did my study abroad trip, and it's like every day there's just something new to do and something to go after, something to learn.
It's your world. You are the captain. Heidi, what's your closing thought for today?
My closing thought is you are never too old to set a new goal or dream a new dream. And I believe that's accredited to C.S. Lewis. And I came across this quote this past week, and it's just really inspiring. I think it's important to remember, like, you don't have to live by everybody else's time schedule or timeline. You're living your own life. And a lot of times when we think we're too old to do something, I mean, that's just an idea in your head. It's not necessarily real. So that's what it means to me. And just want everybody to stay inspired.
Stay inspired. You're never too young to dream. Never too young to dream. Yeah, absolutely. Well said. Well said. Hey, if anyone's got anything that they want to share, some closing thoughts, pop them in the comments. We're about to close this up over here. I ran across my here. Joan's asking for a repeat. Heidi, would you want to repeat that for Joan, please?
You are never too old to set another goal or dream a new dream.
There you go. Never too old to set another goal or dream a new dream. And thankfully, we've also inspired Kinaya, who's also an alumni of the Islander Ohana. Welcome back, Kinaya. It's always great to see you. Always awesome to have you part of what we're doing. All right, I've got mine here. I came across, it doesn't always happen, but I did come across one of my favorites, one of my Proverbs ones, and I love this one. Proverbs 11:24 says, "Some give freely, yet grow all the richer. Others withhold what is due and only suffer want." And to me, that is a great story about how this generosity is kind of brings more generosity, right? It's that feeling that you have, that feeling of some give freely and grow all the richer. It's that giving of freely creates a sense of abundance, and abundance. Of course, if you live abundance, you live abundance, and others withhold what is due and only suffer want. So by withholding, by withholding what is due, right, withholding what you should be giving, you suffer want. Why? Because if you withhold what is due, it means you're holding back, right? You have a concept of scarcity. If you live scarcity, you live scarcity. You live abundance, you live abundance. So that's that for me. That is that's my closing thought. Let's see who else has got over here, and we got some folks here, agreements over here. And Tom, mahalo as always. All right, folks. This is it for us. We're going to kind of round around. Let's do counterclockwise. Say goodbye, everybody. Heidi, then Scott, then Dylan. Say goodbye.
Aloha, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Aloha. Thanks for joining us.
Have an awesome weekend, everybody.
Awesome weekend. Enjoy. I hope this was a great show. Great to have you all here. We'll catch you in 2 weeks. Aloha.